Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Ollie Barrett. Ollie, how are you today?
Good, thank you, Tanvi. It's 12:30 p.m. here in London, 1:30 across Central Europe. Coming up in the next half an hour, we'll go live to Israel, a trade deal for Ukraine, and the opportunity for Indian farmer in Nigeria. First, the headlines.
Gaza ceasefire talks dominate U.S. Gulf Cooperation Council meeting in Riyadh. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken says measurable progress made in the humanitarian situation in Gaza, but more needs to be done.
Effective way to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, to alleviate the suffering of children, women and men, and to create space for a more just and durable solution is to get the ceasefire and the hostages home.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issues fresh global plea for more air defenses and an entry into NATO. Kiev and Abu Dhabi conclude talks on a bilateral trade deal. And China hints at retaliation after US President Joe Biden signs legislation to boost Taiwan's defenses and to get TikTok's Chinese owner to divest from the social media platform. Our first news from West Asia. The Gulf Cooperation Council GCC has called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza at the opening of a US GCC meeting in Riyadh today. The GCC further called for ensuring access to all humanitarian and relief assistance and basic needs of Gaza residents.
We reaffirm the position of the Gulf Cooperation Council, calling for an immediate and sustainable ceasefire and the cessation of Israeli military operations throughout Gaza, including Rafah, and ensuring access to all humanitarian and relief assistance and the basic needs of Gaza residents.
Earlier, speaking at this meeting, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the most effective way to tackle humanitarian crisis is to reach a ceasefire.
We have seen measurable progress in the last few weeks, including the opening of new crossings, increased volume of aid delivery to Gaza and within Gaza, and the building of the U.S. Maritime Corridor, which will open in the coming weeks. But it is not enough. The most effective way to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, to alleviate the suffering of children, women and men, and to create space for a more just and durable solution is to get the ceasefire and the hostages home.
Earlier, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud in Riyadh. Post-conflict governance of Gaza is on the agenda of Antony Blinken's visit. DD India's Sarah Coates joins us live from Tel Aviv for more now. Sarah, has there been progress made for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip?
Well, that is what everyone's really waiting for, Tanvi. We do know that a Hamas delegation is now in Cairo speaking to senior Egyptian officials about this latest proposal. Now, I'll give you some of what is being reported about this latest proposal. It would see the release of some 33 Israeli hostages in the humanitarian category, that is, women, men over the age of 50, the injured and also children. Now, previously, Israel said it would only have 40 people released. It's now brought that number back down, given that Israeli intelligence believes that there are only 33 people left in that category. Now, as part of these people being released, Israel would then release quite a large number, still that exact number unknown, of Palestinian prisoners, some of which are serving time for murder. Now, also this proposal, which Secretary of State Blinken is calling extraordinarily generous, would see the Israeli forces withdraw from a corridor that they have built, which actually splits the Gaza Strip in two, as well as allowing people back up into the northern part of the Gaza Strip, including men of fighting age. So certainly all eyes really will be on Cairo over the next few days. We do know that the Egyptians have invited an Israeli delegation also there to take part in these indirect meetings with Hamas. But certainly there is a lot of hope being pinned on this latest deal, especially, of course, by the families of these hostages. And also given the fact that Israel really gave an ultimatum to Hamas, saying that this is the last time that it would actually engage in these negotiations. And if Hamas does not agree to this deal, then this Rafah operation will go ahead.
Sarah, there's a lot happening in the region right now. Tell us what efforts are being made to prevent the Gaza conflict from expanding.
Well, it certainly already has expanded, but what we are seeing here really is intense diplomacy. Even today, there are reports of a Maltese-flagged ship being targeted by the Houthis on its way to Jeddah. Now, the Houthis have been using drones, missiles to target commercial shipping since mid-November. And we also need to remember what's happening in the north of Israel. Just a little earlier today, Hamas, that is based in Lebanon, actually came out to claim some 20 rockets that were fired over the border into Israeli territory. Most of these, we do believe, were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. But certainly this conflict has expanded. Now, it is important to point out that Amos Hochstein, he's the US envoy for Middle East affairs. He's been deployed once again to Beirut to really try and calm this situation there between Hezbollah and Israel and other Palestinian factions, I should also say, that are based in Lebanon. He's due today also in Israel. And as I said, really intense diplomacy right around the region amid widespread fear that if a ceasefire isn't put in place and if these hostages are not released, then the Israelis will go down into Rafah, and this could cause an even greater spillover.
Thank you, Sarah, for those updates. Sarah Coates reporting to us from Tel Aviv. The US Central Command and the Royal Jordanian Air Force conducted a combined humanitarian assistance airdrop into northern Gaza to provide relief to civilians in Gaza affected by the ongoing conflict. The US airdropped over 25,000 ready-to-eat meals for humanitarian assistance. Additionally, more than 13,000 meal equivalents of Jordanian food supplies were also delivered. Meanwhile, the Food Aid Organization, World Central Kitchen, is resuming operations in Gaza. It expressed keenness on getting as much food into Gaza, including northern Gaza, as possible. The World Central Kitchen said 276 trucks were waiting to enter via the Rafah crossing, adding that it was also exploring a maritime corridor to deliver aid. On to the other conflict between Russia and Ukraine now. As the frontline situation worsens, Kiev is desperately awaiting US weapon supplies and is urging all for more air defenses. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London. He gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, another difficult phase in this war for Ukraine?
It is, Tanvi. Yes, Russia now claiming its forces have taken control of Semenivka, which is a village in Ukraine's Donetsk region, after a series of recent territorial gains. On Sunday, the Russian Defense Ministry had announced the capture of another village, Novobakhmutovka, which is close to Okoratine town in Ukraine. This village was a focal point of fighting in recent days. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's recent pleas to the international community have called for swift action in delivering crucial air defense systems and kick-starting formal discussions for Ukraine's accession into the European Union and the NATO military alliance. Following the recent approval by the US Congress of a $61 billion aid package and the conflict escalating in Ukraine's eastern regions, the Ukrainian president has repeatedly pleaded for further air defense systems, particularly the Patriot system.
In my conversation with Mr. Jeffries, I underscored that Patriot systems are needed and as soon as possible. Also, our teams, Ukraine and the United States, are currently working on a bilateral security agreement. We are already working on a specific text. Our goal is to make this agreement the strongest of all. We are discussing the specific foundations of our security and cooperation. We're also working on establishing specific levels of support for this year and for the next 10 years.
The United Arab Emirates and Ukraine have completed negotiations on a bilateral trade deal ahead of its formal signing. A joint statement says the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement will reduce tariffs on a range of goods and products and remove trade barriers and ease market access to exporters from both sides. The agreement will also support Ukraine's recovery and rebuilding of key industries and infrastructure due to its conflict with Russia. The Gulf states started negotiations for a trade agreement with Ukraine at the end of 2022. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has announced he will continue to serve as the country's leader. His decision comes days after the Spanish leader announced that he was considering resigning from office after a Madrid court opened a probe into allegations of influence peddling and corruption from his wife Begoña Gómez. The Spanish Prime Minister has reiterated his wife's claims of innocence and accuses opposition leaders of spreading misinformation.
I have decided to continue as Prime Minister, to go on, if possible even stronger, as the Prime Minister of Spain's government. This decision doesn't mean business as usual. Things are going to be different, and I can guarantee that. That is why I assume in front of you my commitment to work without rest, firmly and with serenity for the pending regeneration of our democracy, as well as for the progress and to consolidate rights and freedoms. I assume the decision to lead the Spanish government with even greater strength.
Nigeria is turning to Indian pharmaceutical companies for possible investment in the country following the exit of some multinationals from the industry there. Medical personnel say the exits have led to a surge in the price of medicines and the saturation of fake drugs in the market. But they say that presents a gap for India to fill, a country which has been a medical destination choice for many Nigerians. DD India correspondent Tessa Makinde reports from Jos.
Yakubu Gyang had an accident last year that almost took his life. He survived after he was rushed to India for medical attention.
For all the drugs I took, you could see the effect immediately. You're walking and you could feel the effect. I think I even had to bring some drugs over, paracetamol. Just a dose of it is enough for you to get whatever you're looking for. You relax. You know that the drugs are good.
Gyang is among an estimated 40,000 Nigerians who visit India annually for medical treatment, according to the Indian High Commission in Nigeria. His country has for years relied on pharmaceutical products from multinational companies. But some of the companies are leaving the country, saying the business environment is unfriendly.
Last year, UK-based pharmaceutical company GlaxoSmithKline and French pharmaceutical multinational Sanofi both announced their withdrawal from Nigeria. They are among other companies that have wound up operations in the country.
Health experts say the situation has led to counterfeit drugs in the market and a sharp rise in the cost of medicines, some soaring by over 1,000%.
You have a lot of people who are dying because they can't afford their basic medication. That's happening even as we speak.
Medical workers say there are therefore opportunities for Indian investments in the pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria and are calling on the Nigerian government to make the investment environment friendly.
If these people can come in and make the drugs cheaper, okay, but then we're able to get value for our money, patients are able to get medications and it works for them, why not? By all means, we welcome them.
The government says it is streamlining taxation, improving power supply, and addressing other concerns to encourage investments from places like India. Tassum Akende in Jos, reporting for DD India.
A two-day G7 ministers meeting on climate, energy and environment is underway in Turin. Italy, which heads the G7 rotating presidency this year, is pushing for an agreement among the group of 7 wealthy nations to set a target date for the phase-out of coal in power generation. An agreement on this would be one step towards targets from the COP28 United Nations Climate Summit in Dubai last year. As many as 42 more people have died in floods in Kenya's Mai Mahiu region, with authorities warning that casualty count may climb further due to a burst dam there. Massive floods have caused delays in the start of the new school term in Kenya for a week. Local residents have been moved to a nearby medical facility in Mai Mahiu by the Red Cross. The Philippines has shut schools and warned of overloading on its power grid as authorities across Southeast Asia issue a series of health alerts about a deadly heat wave. The state weather agency forecast temperatures in the capital region could reach 37 degrees Celsius in the next 3 days. The nation's ongoing heat wave has severely impacted the earnings of small businesses. The state weather agency says the heat index is expected to remain at a record 45 degrees Celsius, which can trigger heat strokes due to prolonged exposure. And Tanvi, I hear the India Meteorological Department has issued severe heatwave warnings for east and southern parts of India.
Yes, indeed, Ollie. The IMD has issued a red alert for the eastern states of Odisha and West Bengal, an orange alert for Bihar and Jharkhand, and a yellow alert for eastern Uttar Pradesh and northern parts of Kerala. The heat wave conditions are likely to get more severe, with the possibility of further rise in maximum day temperatures in West Bengal and Odisha due to the prevailing humid conditions. In contrast, residents of Delhi NCR got a little respite from the scorching heat after Friday's spell of rainfall brought down the maximum temperature a bit. Meanwhile, rescue operation is underway as Jammu and Kashmir's Kupawara district saw heavy rains that created flood-like situation on Monday. And additionally, intermittent rain accompanied by thunderstorms and hail lashed several parts of Himachal Pradesh, while the tribal areas received fresh snowfall on Saturday, causing a sharp dip in the mercury. So, Ollie, heat also being one of the factors for the low voter turnout in our elections. Thank you, Ollie. That was Ollie Barrett joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an interview to an Indian English daily, says we'll do everything to make Uniform Civil Code UCC a reality. And Indonesia and Singapore discuss defence cooperation in Jakarta.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. Back to Asia. China on Monday hinted at retaliation after US President Joe Biden signed into law the legislation to boost Taiwan's defenses and seeks to get TikTok's Chinese owner to divest from the social media platform. Beijing urged the United States to refrain from implementing the negative China-related aspects of the law. Biden signed a bill tied to the aid legislation that bans TikTok in the United States if its Chinese owner, ByteDance, fails to divest the app over the next 9 months to a year. In an interview to an English daily, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi touched upon a range of topics, including the ruling alliance's target to cross 400 seats mark in the 543-member lower house of parliament in the general elections. Now, we take a look at the highlights from the interview. PM Modi said, and I quote him, "A vote for the BJP means a vote towards development." One of the main reasons, he said, we want to win 400 seats is to protect the rights of the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other backward classes in our country. Speaking on the newly built Ram temple in Ayodhya, PM said, and I quote him, Ram Mandir is an emotive issue for the people of our country. It is a civilizational struggle of 500 years which has been resolved, and prayers of generations of Indians have been answered. He added that the BJP government will do everything in its capacity to make Uniform Civil Code UCC a reality. PM Modi said that one nation, one poll is going to ensure that as a nation our resources get invested more productively towards nation building. Discussing foreign policy, the Prime Minister said that the world feels the rise of India is good for the world. And next we get you the latest on India's elections. As India prepares for the third phase of its general elections, campaigning gains steam on Monday. Voting will be held in 93 parliamentary seats in this phase on May the 7th. After holding a rally in Karnataka, senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a rally in Maharashtra's Solapur. He said that Congress never believed in making leaders from the backward community. However, the BJP has always tried to give a higher representation to the backward classes.
लोग इन दिनों सत्ता हथियाने के लिए देश तो बंटवारे करते ही रहे हैं, अब एक नया फॉर्मूला लाए हैं। ये फॉर्मूला लाए हैं 5 साल में 5 पीएम, हर वर्ष 1 पीएम। वो जितना खजाना लूटना है लूटेगा, फिर दूसरे साल दूसरा पीएम, फिर वो लूट करेगा, तीसरे साल तीसरा पीएम, चौथे साल चौथा पीएम, 5वें साल 5वां पीएम। क्यों भाई? और यहां नकली शिवसेना वाले क्या कहते हैं मालूम है? ये नकली शिवसेना वाले तो कह रहे हैं कि उनके यहां तो पार्टी में पीएम पद के लिए ढेर सारे लोग हैं, और उनके एक बड़बोले नेता ने तो कह दिया हम 1 साल में 4 पीएम बनाए तो उसमें भी क्या जाता है? आप मुझे बताइए, 5 साल 5 पीएम जैसे फॉर्मूला से इतना बड़ा देश चल सकता है क्या?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held a poll rally in Maharashtra's Satara region. Addressing the rally, PM Modi said that the government fulfilled the guarantee of 1 rank, 1 pension, and 1 lakh crore rupees is being given to ex-servicemen as part of the 1 rank, 1 pension scheme. Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah campaigned in Bihar's Begusarai. Addressing the gathering, he said that earlier state was suffering from Naxalism, and now with constant efforts of the government, criminal activities have reduced significantly. Opposition Congress leader Rahul Gandhi addressed a rally in Gujarat's Patan. 25 seats in the state are going to polls in the third phase. Addressing a rally, he said that today there is a fight between 2 ideologies in the country. And our team Poll Pulse delves into the political dynamics in Guwahati in northeast Indian state of Assam ahead of the third phase of elections on May 7th. DD India's Sakal Bhatt brings us an exclusive report.
Team Poll Pulse has reached Guwahati. Welcome to the gateway to northeast of India. Kamakhya temple here in the heart of Guwahati at the top of Nilachal Hills. Kamakhya temple, one of the most revered and oldest places of worship. Any visit to Assam or perhaps any visit to Guwahati is incomplete without paying visit to this place from where I'm reporting from. Why is it important to vote?
ভোট দিব লাগে কি নাগৰিকৰ কাৰণে নাগৰিকত্ব পাৱাৰ কাৰণে দিব লাগে ৰাইজৰ যাতে ভাল হয় চৰকাৰখন ভাল আহিলে ভাল লাগে
Guwahati is one of the fastest growing and one of the largest cities in the northeastern state of Assam. In fact, one of the important port city or port riverine city on the southernmost banks of mighty Brahmaputra River.
लोग ऐसे वोटर है जो डेवलपमेंट हो जो आपका हम लोग का काम हो जो ऐसे एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन का कुछ काम हो स्किल डेवलपमेंट हो वो सब मुद्दे देख के ही हम लोग वोट करेंगे
अभी जब जो डेवलप दिखा रहा है तो हमको तो उसी को सुनोगे
As far as the youth bulge of Northeast is concerned or youth electorate of Northeast is concerned, they say they play a significant role.
Voting is our right. It's our right to vote and we need to vote for a change.
असम बदल गया है असम बदल रहा है और भी अगर बदले चेंज हो और डेवलप्ड हो तो और अच्छा लगेगा जो लोग बहुत गांव के अंदर से आते थे आजकल उन लोगों के पास ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की सुविधा है और हेल्थ में जाए तो आप देखिए कि लोग को अच्छा चिकित्सा मिल रही है वहाँ पे
Issues are, I think, major issues. One is the development issue. Another one is the corruption issue. At one point of time, we have to wait around, say, 40 years for one more bridge on the Brahmaputra. Then again, 15 years for the next one. Now we are getting 3 more bridges within 5 years.
Well, it is once again a very, very intense battle royale between the ruling dispensation of the BJP and the opposition Congress party, of which Assam used to be once upon a time stronghold. This is Sakal Bhatt reporting from Brahmaputra riverfront in Guwahati, Assam, with camera person Rahul Chopra for DD India.
And next we take a look at what else is happening around the world. Charged with high treason, attempted murder and plotting a violent coup, 9 men were put on trial in Stuttgart, Germany on Monday. The hearing marks the start of 3 marathon trials of a total of 27 people accused of conspiring in a plot foiled by authorities at the end of 2022, becoming one of the largest legal proceedings in German history. Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong was on a state visit to Indonesia on Monday, his last official visit before handing over office on May 15th. He was welcomed by Indonesian President Joko Widodo and the 2 leaders held a bilateral meeting. A mutual agreement on defence was also signed between the 2 countries. The Rolling Stones band kicked off their North America tour at a packed venue in Houston on Sunday. The Sunday show was the first of the 16 performances planned across the US and Canada through July. Mick Jagger performed alongside Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood, the surviving core of the band. The Moscow Zoo opened the outdoor enclosure for the giant panda cub Katyusha on Monday. Less than a year old, she is the first giant panda cub born in Russia. This is the first enclosure for Katyusha, which will allow the cub to safely explore her surroundings. And as we wind up this edition of DD India Global, here are some visuals of surfing by India's defending champion Robinson from the Bonsoy Gold Coast Pro World Surf League. So that's all for this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can Scan the QR code on the screen to download now.